In the summer of 1944, the city of Warsaw was still under German occupation. The streets were silent, scarred by years of war and oppression. But underground, the people of Poland, students, workers, women, even children, were preparing for something unthinkable: to rise up against the Nazis and take back their capital. It would become one of the most heroic and tragic revolts of the Second World War, a story of courage, betrayal, and abandonment. This is the story of the Warsaw Uprising, when civilians fought the Nazi war machine and were left to die alone. By 1944, the tide of World War II had turned. The Allies had landed in Normandy. In the east, the Soviet Red Army was pushing the Germans back, advancing across Poland. For the people of Warsaw, it finally seemed that liberation was near. The Polish underground resistance, the Armia Krajowa, or Home Army, believed the time had come. Their plan was simple and desperate: rise up against the Germans before the Soviets arrived, take control of the city, and greet the Red Army as the free Polish government, not as subjects of Moscow. But this plan depended on one thing: that the Soviets would come. They never did. On August 1st, 1944, at exactly 5 p.m., the signal was given. Codename Operation Tempest. From basements, sewers, and attics, thousands of fighters emerged. Most had only pistols, homemade grenades, and stolen German rifles. At first, they succeeded. They seized parts of the city, captured German barracks, and raised the Polish white and red flag over rooftops. The joy was indescribable. For the first time in 5 years, Warsaw was free. At least for a few days. But then, the German response began. The Nazis reacted with total brutality. Hitler ordered Warsaw to be wiped from the face of the earth. SS units, police battalions, and heavy weapons poured into the city. The Germans brought tanks, flamethrowers, and even aircraft to destroy a civilian uprising armed with little more than courage. Entire districts were burned to the ground. Hospitals and shelters were bombed. Captured resistance fighters and civilians were executed on the spot. In the Wola district, tens of thousands were massacred in just a few days. Still, the Poles kept fighting. For weeks, the people of Warsaw lived and fought underground. Sewers became escape routes, hospitals, even supply lines. Children acted as couriers, carrying messages through tunnels under the burning city. The Home Army fought with remarkable ingenuity. Molotov cocktails against tanks, captured weapons turned back on their owners. Even street barricades made of furniture and rubble became fortresses. But ammunition ran out. Food vanished. Every building became a battlefield, and every victory a temporary one. By September, the uprising was collapsing. Across the river Vistula, the Soviet Red Army had reached the city's outskirts. The Polish fighters could see them, could hear their artillery. They believed help was hours away. But the Soviets stopped. For weeks, they did nothing. Stalin refused to order an advance or to allow Western planes to use Soviet airfields for supply drops. To him, the Polish resistance, loyal to the government in exile in London, was an obstacle, not an ally. British and American bombers tried to help, but flying from distant Italy meant that most supplies missed the drop zones or fell into German hands. Warsaw was truly alone. By late September, after 63 days of fighting, the uprising was over. The survivors, starving and exhausted, were forced to surrender. Warsaw was in ruins, more than 85% of the city destroyed. Of the roughly 40,000 resistance fighters, more than 15,000 were killed. Among civilians, over 150,000 died: men, women, and children. The Germans deported the remaining population and systematically leveled what was left of the city. They even dynamited historical monuments, churches, and palaces, erasing centuries of Polish culture. When the Red Army finally entered Warsaw in January 1945, there was almost nothing left. The city was silent, a wasteland of rubble and ashes. Poland would not be free. Instead, it fell under Soviet control, beginning nearly half a century of communist rule. For many Poles, the Warsaw Uprising became both a symbol of national pride and a reminder of betrayal. They fought for freedom, but no one came to save them. Now, some interesting facts. The uprising lasted 63 days, far longer than anyone expected. The Home Army's symbol, a simple letter P with an anchor, became known as the Kotwica, the anchor of hope. Wanda Tracik-Stauska, a teenage courier, later said, "We weren't fighting to win. We were fighting so the world would know that we fought." In the 1980s, survivors helped build the Warsaw Uprising Museum, which still stands as a memorial to those who refused to surrender. Every year, on August 1st at 5 p.m., the entire city of Warsaw stops. Traffic, people, everything, for 1 minute of silence. The sirens sound, and the city remembers. The Warsaw Uprising was not a military success. It was a human statement, a declaration that even after years of terror, ordinary people could still rise and fight for dignity. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and abandoned, but they refused to kneel. That's why the story of Warsaw still matters, because it reminds us that freedom has a cost, and that sometimes courage means fighting even when you know you'll lose. Thank you for watching. If you learned something new, please like, subscribe, and share this video to keep history alive.